Hello, मंगावा हाँ 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 अरे है ना अरे बस right good morning. Right. So, uh, good morning. And today, actually, we are going to learn about XML. Right? It's another kind of a markup language, more related to HTML, and you will be learning about XML and HTML graphics, and after that, we will be moving into learning CSS, right? That's the agenda, right? දෙන්න කවුද මේ අර මේ පස්සේ පිළිගන්න දෙන්න පොඩ්ඩක් මේ එතන හොඳට අහගෙන ඉන්න. right? කවුද? I'm talking to you. Right? Hello there. Right? So last week, I think we concluded the HTML part, and also I have asked you to separate the self-study some part of the lecture. I said like I won't be doing that. That is just for your self-study, right? So here today I'm actually talking about XML. So XML stands for Extensible Markup Language, right? XML is a markup language much like HTML, right? And it was designed to store and transport data, right? HTML is there to yeah, the application for what? The purpose of HTML is what? Yeah. Yeah. Why we have HTML? Yeah. Someone correct that if you have a HTML page, it will render the content into the web browser, right? So it's a kind of an actor. I mean, like if you have some HTML document, it will render the content into the web browser. So XML, it was designed to store and transport the data, right? अपने data store करना පුළුවන්, data transport करना පුළුවන්, right? XML was designed to be both human and machine readable, right? So you will understand that statement. And it was designed to be self-descriptive, right? It has sender information, it has receiver information, it has a heading, it has a message body, and W3C recommends as XML is a recommendation as early in February. So that is like they actually have been like design this XML animation. That was actually happened in 1998. So HTML, we have separate tags, right? Header tag, header tags, head text, then body tag, then div tag, tag tag. I mean, so much of things are there. But XML, it is self-descriptive markup language. You can define any tag as per your need. That is it, right? A tag is all the it has the sender information. File if you are sending some data, you can include the sender information. You can include the receiver information. It has a heading and it has a message body. That's why it is self-descriptive, right? So, and why we study XML? So XML plays an important role in many different IT systems and is often used for distributing data over the internet. It is important for the software developers to have a good understanding of XML. So I will tell you one example. Why XML is important? Because you know, I mean, like we might be calling I mean, like we might be saying that's APIs, application programming interfaces. I mean, like you have web services or something like that, right? Normally, when you have an API, when you have this web services or when you are referring to some outside web services, there are two ways that communication of the data transfer happen, right? So, simple object access protocol and other one is REST API. RESTful architecture. I don't remember what does it mean by REST API. So what happened is in this, I mean, like when you are invoking this separate APIs, this, I mean, like so web services, you can get the data either from a JSON format. So JSON can JavaScript object notation, right? So you have the JavaScript, or otherwise, probably it is XML, right? But nowadays we are mostly using JSON, and on the other hand, so I will tell you from my experience. So I was actually, I mean, like I was a .NET developer. That means like I had to work with C# and Visual Studio IDE. So when you are working with this .NET development, I assume it is the case of Java also. Java similar. So you have some config file, right? Let's say if you are developing a software application, you have some file called config file, right? Config file whatever the necessary libraries, whatever the let's say, I mean, like if you are hosting your application, so the database is normally in the industry level, industry microservice architecture server database server. So inside this particular web config, you have the hard coded particular URL for that this web server and all the things are there, right? So this data is actually XML format, right? Website particular search කරලා ඒක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දැනගන්න පුළුවන් මේ. On the other hand, because I was a .NET developer, so they have one particular solution called Platform One, and they were using SQL Server database, right? So I mean, like you always have to take the data from the database server. So they have a procedure called stored procedures, right? Query එක ලියලා තියෙනවා and stored procedure කියන්නේ query එකට මොකක් හරි නමක් තියෙනවා, right? So all that thing are saved in මේ query ඔක්කොම save කරලා තිබ්බේ code කරලා තිබ්බේ XML වලින් bind වෙන විදිහට. That means during the runtime when you are retrieving the database in the program itself, program එකේ query එකේ නම විතරයි තියෙන්නේ. So that will be going to the relevant XML file and retrieve the data from the database, right? Store and retrieve the data. So you might be, you might be witness this when you also go to the industry, probably XML or otherwise SQL server use करना probably. So you have to store the whatever the queries necessary queries in XML format, right? So XML is often used for distributing the data over the internet. I told you in the case of web services. So like simple object access protocol, and when you are invoking data from the REST APIs, right? In the case of REST API, the XML data you will be sending through the HTTP message body. So it's like I know it's hard to understand, but because I don't think you have another lesson to probably no, but because when I was a graduate, we have a separate subject from web services. But unfortunately, so this is the this is the last place that you have to learn XML. I don't know about the system administration in this. You have a system administration subject in the 4th year. So probably this will be the last time, right? So difference between XML and HTML, right? XML and HTML were designed with different goals, right? So XML was designed to carry the data with focus on what data is, and HTML was designed to display the data. When developer so to represent the data display, right? And the XML tags are not predefined like HTML tags. Paragraph, H1, H2, table, you can define your own tags, right? With XML, the authors must define both the tags and the document structure. So you are the one who is actually making the document. You are the one handling everything. Even you have to define the document structure and the tags by yourself. Right. Any questions up to this point? Yes? Right. This note is actually note to Tom from Jenny stored that in XML format. Right? So with HTML, we did have some predefined tags. So here, as you in the top, you have the node particular XML tag, right? Then you have the two, and inside that you have some value, and then you have from and heading, body, likewise tag. Right? So you can see, when the data is actually rendered into some format that is visible, that is how it is displayed, right? Node කියන tag එක define කරලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ to කියන එකත් from කියන එකත් එතන තියෙනවා කාගෙද from whom that you are the person who are sending the message and the person who are receiving the message, and what is the header, and if the description is there, the body is there, and you are just ending that particular tag, right? So if it is some kind of API storage and student information, so student has some attributes, right? Normally student name, student ID, and age, maybe like courses, and what is the level. So what you can do is take XML and unknown. But if you want to stop, so you need to define your own tag, student. So you have to close student. and method tag එක ගන්න මොකක් හරි age එක. Inside you have some value, and here you have maybe some student ID, SID, right? You have the student ID, maybe student age, SH, and student address. Likewise, right? You can define anything as per your name, right? That is why the language is self-descriptive, right? And XML, it is extensible, right? It can language, it can be extendable. The girl, the wearing spectacles, and when you know what can happen, what can look at counter. Right. So XML is extensible. Most XML applications work as expected, even if name data is added or removed, right? So you can at any time you can define new tags that is possible, or you can remove existing text, still the document it will work, right? So you can see the old version is there, and here you are adding a new version. Maybe like the message sent in time and the exact hour. So you can see this. I mean, like it is functional because the XML is there to store and transport the data, right? Not to display the content as HTML. So that is why XML is extensible. It can be extended. I mean, the functionality can be extended at any time, right? Remember, remember when you go to the industry, you might be definitely, I mean, like if you become a .NET software developer or when you are working with C#, so definitely you have to work with XML. So unfortunately, I'm not familiar with the industry level Java. So you might be realizing if you become a .NET developer. So XML simplifies things, right? It simplifies the data sharing, how the data is transported, and any changes are there, and the availability of data, right? Many computer systems contain data in incompatible formats. Exchanging data between incompatible systems is a time-consuming task for web developers. Large amount of data must be converted, and incompatible data is often lost. And XML stores the data in plain text format, and that is easily readable. It can be updated easily. I mean, we can understand. This provides a software and hardware independent way of storing, transporting, and sharing data. XML also make it easier to expand or upgrade new operating system, new applications, or new browsers without losing data. With XML, data can be available to all kinds of 3D machines like paper, computer, voice machines, newspeak, etc. So many computer systems contain data in incompatible formats, right? So assume you are working that, I mean, let's say you are a normal web developer and you are working on that. Probably you might all working in a Windows kind of environment, right? So when you want to retrieve data or when you want to have an API, I mean, or when you want to retrieve data from some API, probably, if it is maybe like integrating a large language model or something like that. So you might be retrieving data, you might be getting data in the form of either this XML, JSON, right? So that is for the Windows. So that is for the Windows environment. So if it is the case of Linux environment, what will happen? So Windows environment, unless we have external JSON, right? So like I explained this slide. So what will happen in the case of Linux, like if it is some kind of Apple development environment kind of environment. මොනවා කියලා බලන්න. JSON එක පාවිච්චි කරලා තියෙනවද කියලා හරි? right. අහලා තියෙනවද නේද? some yeah. I think මම JavaScript කරනකොට ඒක තව ඉස්සරහට තියෙන්නේ. So any idea? You don't have to, I mean, like, you don't have to do nothing, right? Java is JSON, this XML format. I mean, like, irrespective of the whatever the, I mean, like the underlying system, whatever the underlying operating system, whatever the underlying browser, they all work in all the scenarios. Operating system එක මොකක් වුණත්, so it's like the machine, the many computer system contain data in incompatible formats. While Linux Windows data web service I mean like if it's a web service hostel Linux I mean like Apache and send but eventually you are into some Windows environment. So whatever the I mean like the format or other thing. So I mean like XML and this JSON kind of I mean like JSON, XML. So this data formats, I mean like this defines, I mean like you don't have to worry about any of the things. Basically, they are independent from all these things, right? XML stores data in plain text format. This produces software and hardware independent way of storing, transporting, and sharing data. මොකක් වුණත් අමෙල්ලන් එකට operating system එක හරි hardware part එක මොකක් වුණත් you can like anytime it will allow to store, transport, share the data irrespective of the underlying infrastructure of the whatever the software environment. XML also make it easier to expand or upgrade to new operating system, new applications, or new browsers without losing data. Right? Normally makes it I mean XML. But probably, I mean, like, let's say you have, I mean, like, you have something, I mean, like HTML document, and you have also defined some URL, I mean, like the encoding mechanism that we like the encoding, and probably you might be seeing the content in the Opera web browser in the Linux environment. So, if the case in the Right. Probably, I mean, that it depends on the browser. I mean, like you call this browser is compatible. That means depending on the web browser, sometimes whatever the browser version based on the operating system, HTML, සමහර වෙලාවට අපිට හරියට content එක display කරගන්න බෑ. But it is not the case of XML, right? With XML, data can be available to all kind of 3D machine like people, computers, voice machine, news feeds, etc. That means irrespective of the whatever the device or the other thing, it is easily accessible. XML does not carry any information about how to be displayed, unlike the HTML. The same XML data can be used in many different presentation scenarios. Because of this XML, there's a full separation between data and the presentation. In many HTML applications, XML is used to store and transfer the data, while HTML is used to format and display the same data. Even with the latest version of HTML, inside the particular HTML page, we can use the XML. And I think, maybe like probably, I will tell you in the next lesson that we are doing the SVG images, while HTML is used to format and display the same data, right? When displaying data in HTML, you should not have to edit the HTML file when the data changes, right? With XML, data can be stored as separate XML files with a few lines of JavaScript code. You can read an XML file and update the data content of any HTML page, right? Right? Normally, when displaying the data using HTML, you should not have edit the HTML file when the data changes, right? Like a part, you define the HTML page with the whatever text necessary. Unless you have the JavaScript languages, I mean, like maybe like when you are refreshing the document, when the document is actually ready, you can define some functions, right? But unless, I mean, like if it is really necessary, if it doesn't have JavaScript, you don't have to edit the document using HTML. You can browse it and display, right? With XML, the data can be stored in separate XML files. XML like the data is stored. But with a few lines of JavaScript code, you can read an XML file and update the data content of any HTML page, right? So let's assume you have a separate HTML file and you have a separate XML file, right? So with the help of JavaScript, which we are going to learn in the forthcoming weeks, basically you can define something like when this particular HTML document loads, document take a load whenever like render the content from this particular XML file and display through HTML tags. මේව bind කරන HTML tag එකකට bind කරලා display කරන table format එකකට කියලා you can define using JavaScript, right? This is just an example that I'm explaining. So that can be even done. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ XML එක separate file එකක තියාගෙන JavaScript through you can render the content of this XML with HTML for document and you can display it, right? That is possible. Fine. So this is the example. Yeah. Not the JavaScript version. So this is a simple like XML document. On the top, you have the. This is how the you define. You need to define it as XML. Top, you have the XML version starting with the question mark. XML version 1.0, right? And I think we have the latest 1.1 version. But commonly we are using 1.0 and the encoding mechanism. So encoding mechanism in the sense UTF-8, that means Unicode Transformation Format 8. It has a Unicode, that's whatever the mechanism it does contain. Represent like the whole lot of languages all around the world. A Unicode mechanism encoding mechanism you can represent a large number of characters used by different language all around the world compared to the you are representing using some ASCII or ASCII coding mechanism that use them you can only represent like 120 I think it's starting from 0 128 characters but here it's like you can have more than this amount of characters, right? So that is the encoding mechanism to represent the large number of characters. And inside this XML version, so end with the question mark and here, so this is the descriptive part, right? Harry Potter, data, and then you have the XML. So basically, so assuming like you have the data, you can see the data. So it's some kind of a library management system or some kind of store book information in the library. So book store. So starting with the big book store tab, right? So you are defining book by book. A book එකේ තියෙන මොනවද කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. Category පළවෙනි එක category cooking වලට අයිති වෙන. Usually Italian by you can say title and the author and the year that is published and the price, right? And the thing is, this particular XML tags, they can also have some attributes like HTML, right? Title එකේ attribute එකක් විදිහට language එක කියන්නේ lang en මේක english වලින් තියෙන එක තමයි එතන ඩිෆයින් කරන්නේ, right? And book වල attribute එකක් විදිහට you are defining a category. Likewise you can do anything. I mean like මේ attribute define කරන එක මේ tag define කරන එක මේක overload කරගන්න පුළුවන්. It's not like HTML, right? It's not predefined as HTML. You can do anything as per your need, right? You can have separate attributes and you can define this XML element. That's the thing, right? So the transaction data, thousands of XML format exist in many different industries to describe the day-to-day transaction. Stocks and shares, financial transaction, medical data, mathematical data, scientific measurements, needs information, weather services, probably they can know multiple web services. And if you are invoking data through APIs, probably all these, I mean, like most data that you can, I mean, like have to retrieve in the format of JSON or in the format of XML, right? So this is the version, I mean, like this is the XML document to store the news information, right? Top, you have the version and the encoding mechanism, and that is same for all the documents, and apart from that, all the things like that. So this is because to, I mean, like more in the context of some news in my TF head, I mean, like then after that you have header tag, body headline, so you can define anything as per your needs, right? And the weather service, you have the document version and whatever the observation, the credit goes to there and the URL, likewise there. So this is just for your exam reference, right? So how do we define XML document, right? XML documents form a tree structure that starts at the root and branches to the leaves, right? So that book, so example, right? Whatever the XML document, remember, may part take a common, right? Version and the encoding mechanism. So the thing is, every XML document, they need to have a root element. Root element like even the Linux directory structure, you have the root directory, right? So here, also you need to have a root element, right? Root element එක තමයි book store කියන එක. මොකක්ද? If it is student management system, you can say student system. I mean like as per your need, you can define anything. So by referring to the previous example, you can see root element is book store, right? So you have the book store as the root element, and you have three separate, I mean, like book categories, right? So these elements are called, these XML elements are called child elements, right? Book කියන එක තමයි child element එක. And book, it does have a attribute. Attribute එකේ නම තමයි category. You can define anything book in that ඕන එකක්, right? So that's the thing. A book here element calculate, you have how many elements? Title, author, year, price. So බලන්න, you can see element title, element author, element year, element price. You can have another like 4 element, right? As per your need. Element නම ඕන එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, but there's a naming convention that you have to follow. That's the thing, right? And also this element title, ඒකට attribute එකක් තියෙනවා. Language එක. EN කියන්නේ you are referring to English language. right? So, and this particular element, they do have values also, textual values. Title එකේ value එක තමයි text එක everyday Italian, some author name, year, and the price. So that is how the XML documents are made, right? XML documents form a tree structure that starts at the root and branches to the leaves, right? So on the top you have the kind of tree structure එකක් මෙහෙම දෙයක් නේ. So starting with the root element, so you have that. So this is called the parent element. Remember, root root is a parent, right? Root element is the parent, and root second pass book here, child and that child again have some child book here, and book can be again categorized into 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the thing. Always root element it becomes the parent, and after root you have many number of child elements, right? And this XML elements they can have attributes, A attributes and values and also these elements they can also have textual description or textual values, and that's how it is forming a tree kind of structure, right? Starting from the root, parent element, child element, and the remaining tiny elements that we call it siblings, right? Siblings, so right. XML documents are formed as element trees, and XML trees start at the root element and branch from the root to the child element. And element can have sub-elements, right? A book element again, it can have a sub-elements, you call it child elements. The terms parent, child, siblings are used to describe the relationship between elements, right? Parents have always children, right? Children, they have parents. Siblings are children on the same level, right? But brothers and sisters. So by referring to this example, yes, can you tell me what are the elements that I can take in as siblings? Exactly. So this is a make a root element child elements is now again child can have cover define but when child element you can see alignment title order here, so we call it siblings, right? It can be for parent child child element of so we call it with the alignment, with the same alignment, we call them siblings, right? All elements can have text content and attributes. So that's the thing that you need to know. So any questions up to this point? Any questions? Right. XML uses a much self-describing syntax. Prolog defines the XML version and the character encoded. Prolog කියන්නේ මට මතකයි සිංහල නම් මොකද ස්කූල් කාලේ කියන්නේ document එක පටන් ගන්නවා කියලා කියන්නේ this command version XML version and then encoded. That encoding thing. So this is the root element. And this is the child element. Inside the child, you have many siblings, right? So that is how the document starts. Right. So in your, in your case also, probably, as a good architectural standard, if you want to, separately keep your program logic and then maybe the database queries instead of typing all the queries into the document, you can use the XML document and using the JavaScript during the runtime. you can take the XML, you can take the XML to the HTML from the runtime, and you can give the database, right? So that's the idea. So XML document must have a root element and syntax rules. XML document must contain one root element that is the parent of all other elements, right? Again, this is a root element. So that's called the parent of all other child elements. Book is talking HTML, I'm sorry, XML element. I have all other books, right? The XML prologue. Prologue is optional. If it is exit, is must come first in the document. Prologue is an XML version again encoding mechanism. Documents can contain international characters to avoid errors. You should specify the encoding mechanisms or save your XML files as UTF-8 format. So UTF-8 is a default character encoding for XML documents. So yeah, I just explained that. All XML elements must have a closing tag. Closing tag is have element because yeah, all the self-descriptive tag apart from that particular prologue tag, right? Main tag you remember. Initial tag XML version, end tag but to all other XML elements, you need to have a closure tag. All XML elements must have a closing tag. And right, XML tags are case sensitive. So this is XML. So HTML is it the identity? Right. So in the case of HTML, it is not case sensitive, right? That's true. But XML, remember, they are case sensitive, not like HTML. Right? XML tags are case sensitive. The tag letter is different from if you have all the simple letters. Opening and closing tags must be written with the same case, right? So XML elements must be properly nested. All elements must be properly nested within each other. Like a book, so you have already the example. Or the book book inside the book element, you have the title, right? So if it is title is a method. So when you are nesting like that, remember you have to properly nest that. It should be correct as you have the correct version. And XML attribute values must be always quoted. You have to put them inside the quotation marks, right? May attribute value category attribute you have to put it inside the quotation mark. So white space is preserved in XML. XML does not contain multiple white spaces. So let's say that means in the first example, you are saving XML document and you are rendering the content and viewing this view, right? So if you have some white space, you can space it up here. XML it does preserve, and but in the case of HTML, unless you define some space using character or HTML entity in here, display but XML. So, but XML, it will preserve the whatever the space in between these words. So it's called the white space, right? Right. Some characters have a special meaning in XML, and I think I have already explained that. So if you place a character less than inside an XML element, it will generate an error because the parser, XML parser may interpret it as the start of the new element, right? This will generate an XML error. To avoid this error, replace the less than character with the entity reference. So it's the same character. Whatever the HTML character entities that we have previously learned, right? So we have to remember this entity references less than greater than, starting with the ampersand. So ampersand is the apostrophe mark, and this is the quotation mark, right? So it's same like the HTML character entities. So normally, I mean, like if you can't, I mean, like if you put this kind of special symbols like less than, greater than, ampersand inside the HTML textual element, there will be XML error because you have to replace this four kind of symbols with this entity references, right? So it won't give you an error. So the comments in XML, it is same as HTML. This is exact and exclamation mark and two icons and again here and here, right? So that is the way you need to define the comments, right? Same as HTML. An element with no content is said to be empty. Element textual value in XML, you can indicate an empty element like this. You can also use so-called self-closing tag. Self-closing tag එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, මෙහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන්. So that's called a self-closing tag. Normally, you have the element and you have the closure tag here, right? But you can also have this kind of self-closing tag. Right? That's called a self-closing tag. Remember, all these names are, as I have already told you, HTML, it is not case sensitive, right? XML, it is case sensitive. 11 names must start with the letter or underscore. I'm talking about the naming convention. කොහොමද name කරන්නේ? එක්ක letter එකක් නැත්නම් underscore එකෙන් පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. 11 names cannot start with the letters XML. ඒ වචන දෙකෙන් පටන් ගන්න බෑ. Names can contain letters, digits, hyphens, underscores and periods. Right? 11 names cannot contain spaces. Any name can be used. No words are reserved. Right? Except XML. Right? Normally, when we are working with Java or C#, you have some reserved keywords like static, double, float, a variable. Then we cannot use this to define variables. Right? But XML, apart from these two words, XML and the capital XML, we don't, I mean, like, there's no, I mean, restrictions, right? So naming is style, lowercase. So it should be uppercase, underscore තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. And have you guys ever learned about this Pascal and the camel case? How does C program calculate the Pascal camel case here? Have you guys learned that? Okay. Pascal camel case. All the variable name can be oh. Camel case can already be Pascal case can I'm talking about right? So remember, I mean, like eventually, I mean, when you graduate, you become maybe like software engineers or like email engineers or DevOps engineers or any kind of people, right? So, but the thing is, whatever the programming language, or you become a developer or some maybe like software testing person. So when you are defining the variables or the key variables, or when you are naming things in programming languages, Java, C# other things, or yeah, also the PHP, there's a naming convention you have to follow, right? So the two cases, Pascal and the camel case. So camel case in the sense, right? Sorry, camel case. So camel case again, the first letter is, I mean, like the first letter of the word is always simple, right? Let's say, I mean, like you are defining the method, probably some kind of method in Java. Java method එක camel case කියලා කිව්වොත් Do bar method right? So you have to define do. So this is called the camel case. Camel case again, first letter, it should always be simple. And after that, if there are any other word is following, it will be capital, right? So that is called the camel case. So Pascal case, when you are naming some classes, I mean like classes in Java, C Sharp, probably, a class is some kind of you have the camel case that means like class again about student student start with the capital student, right? So that is the two naming conventions you have to follow. Remember that, right? Make a I don't know like I have actually learned this in my first year. So making it like when you are different variables or things, a naming convention follow. So that is what I mean like you always have to as a standard when you are going to the industry as a software engineer, right? Remember Pascal case, Camel case. So Camel case again the most variable that you are naming. Pascal case in classes නම් කරන මට මතක විදිහට Java වල methods එකක් method නම් කරනකොට so you have to refer the Pascal case, right? So the naming is nice. So the best naming practices, so you can study that thing, create a descriptive name like the person. So if it is XML, if I ask you to define XML, I will have to create XML documents in the whiteboard. So remember to follow this naming practice. It should be meaningful, right? Person, first name, last name. And create a short and simple names, right? Uh, like this book title, so you can set the title of the book, but the shorter version is short and much simpler version is book title. Avoid hyphen. If you are some naming some first name, some software may think you want to subtract the name from the name of first. That means like this subtraction sign, that means you are calling it as hyphen. Avoid this period. If you name something first dot, that dot and some software may think that name is a property of the object first. They can Java object name let's say new dot I can remember variable method, right? So don't I mean like when you are naming XML elements, don't use that this hyphen and that particular period. Sometimes the document may misunderstand you, right? So yeah, that's the thing. So any question with regard to the XML? Yes. That's the thing. Anyone have any questions? Right. So Yeah, from you. And the board, the board kind of right? So I have defined it. I have defined whatever the XML is for. So just do the rest. Yes. Then you want to have that. Right. Define XML document for employment. So yeah, create the family sheet and please are we counting? It is a count. We don't have a right. Then they are making උඩට පස්සේ ඊළඟට ඔයාලා you can create siblings, right? You understand siblings, right? Right. You have the example here. You can put his name. Heshan, right? Yes. So you just close the rest of the link. Okay, close the type it yourself. Right? Thank you. And so far that is correct. Define the siblings and close the document. Yeah? You can even close, but I just need one time. I'm like a type the document close. Oh, thousands of can no, it's a million done. Just to like Now the close the document. Remember, it's case sensitive also, right? The language. So employee management. So that is how you make XML document, right? It is self-descriptive. That means like based on your need, I mean like you can have this tag, I mean like this element. So as per your need, right? Make it up there, I mean like employee management employee. So they can categorize their name. That means like you have an attribute, you have the age, salary, employee management, and you have to close in the document, right? So that is how you define. So in case I mean like if you are defining I mean like database scoring systems you have the XML program here method XML you have two XML that and you have a one attribute name the attribute name name method right so during the runtime using the JavaScript or using the program itself you can retrieve the query you can execute on the database right so that's how the basically the industry level people works, right? That's why you have learned XML when we are learning and why we are learning this HTML, right? That was the idea. So if you don't have any questions, we can take a 12 minutes of break. We can meet at 45, right? Pat, please ask others to come. Right. So now actually we are going to learn about HTML graphics and multimedia content. Right. The first thing. So even in the last week I asked study about some part. So there I mentioned SVG and HTML canvas. Right. So let's talk about this SVG first. Right. SVG, that means scalable vector graphics. Right. It's a file format and it's in the vector format and now has reasonably solid browser support on the desktop. Like all vector formats, SVG graphics do not lose quality when enlarged or reduced. And SVG is an open source standard and the files are actually XML files. SVG files end up being part of the HTML document, thus they can be manipulated by JavaScript. So the entire idea is normally we are having images. Images are either you call it PNG images, right? .png. Either could be something like a JPEG, JPG, or otherwise JPEG, right? And apart from that, we have some other, some image or graphic formats. We call it SVG. SVG image format again, if you, you all have it computers, right? So if you type, download some SVG, so you can refer this SVG images, right? It's called a scalable vector graphics, and compared to the other, other sort of images like JPEG, PNG, like this is a different, this has some different attributes, right? Like all vector formats, SVG graphics do not lose quality when enlarged or reduced. Normally, a PNG image if it is a PNG image, JPEG image, right? You can see when you are doing Photoshop or some graphic work, when you try to enlarge the image එක last කරන්න හදනකොට either image එක instead image එක ඇදෙනවා right නැත්නම් මට මතකයි curtain එක keyboard එක you have to press curtain button and the shift button එතකොට ඒක දැක්ක mouse එක ඇදගෙන ගියාම by preserving the same aspect ratio with able to sorry, image without this setting, right? That's the most graphic people they are using. But when it comes to SVG graphics, they do not lose quality when enlarged or reduce. That's the difference. And it is an open source standard, and the files are actually XML file. SVG image එකක් කියන්නේ ඔයා download කරලා දැන් research කරලා, so it's a some kind of it's actually XML file, right? SVG files end up being a part of HTML document. You can include this SVG images in the HTML document. Thus, they can be manipulated by JavaScript, right? So JavaScript will be learning about manipulating the HTML document object model. I think even the first thing I explained you about this document object model, it provides the interface, so we can manipulate the content of this content or the whatever the attribute of this HTML elements. So, right. That means you can basically integrate these images into the HTML file. And remember, scalable vector graphics. So this thing is possible with SVG because normally, I mean that mathematically. So here, I mean like if you refer to this, I mean like you can refer to XY coordinates, right? So like X and Y formats, right? So vector එකක් කියන්නේ normally mathematically we are representing the coordinates and whatever the coordinates. මොකද්ද මේ shape එකේ මේ image එකේ හැඩය කියලා you are representing that in some kind of mathematical form, right? So that is called a vector. So because you are representing this in a mathematical form, when you try to enlarge the image, so it doesn't lose quality, right? That is why we are calling it as scalable vector graphic. ඒක ඕන වෙලාවක scalable කරන්න පුළුවන්, right? Some of the SVG elements, right? Text, create a textual element, circle, create a circle, rectangle, and line. So that means even using a simple XML code, you can create this image, right? So you can download my slides on LMS and just try, right? Though this is a text, right? So you can see the text element at the text. The text can be selected using the mouse and XY define the starting point of the text, right? So you can see this is not HTML. Remember, so it's a self-descriptive XML, right? So even when you copy and paste into your, maybe like if you have visual, IDM that visual studio, not the visual studio, visual code, right? If you try to copy and paste and try to be with this browser, so you can see the text, right? Even though this is in XML format, HTML document, I mean, like you can make HTML document, just copy and paste this code, and you can see the particular text. So this is from XML. You can see SVG, that is the element name, style, right? You are defining the width and the height, and then you have the style same like the HTML element, and you have a text element, right? Remember, you don't need to memorize. Maybe define memorize, but at least try to try to remember. You can define this kind of textual circles, rectangle, lines using the SVG images, and also what is the purpose of having SVGs, right? So this text, and you have the XY coordinates. That means the starting point, and the field means the color, style. That means the whatever the font style and font family, and you have the actual element, textual content over here, and that is how you define the text in SVG, right? That's the thing, and you can later when you copy and paste and when you see that in HTML, you can change it width and height, and you can see how it is happening, whether it is losing quality or not. And circles. So this is how you need to define a circle in SVG. So you have something as CX, CY, R is center coordinates and R is the radius, taken array. Fill is a common attribute and represent the figure color, right? So if you try to copy and paste this one, style it, so I'm going to say width and height. So it's like a rectangle, this kind of container, and inside here two circles. You are defining the center coordinates, right? And this R means radius, and you have the stroke with the whatever this particular line, stroke width, and the fill with the red color, hash color, I mean like the hexadecimal color code, and you have another circle. If you try to copy and paste it in your browser and try to view it in HTML, so you can see this image. So yeah. And please don't try to memorize. I mean, like make a code try right? I won't ask any questions. Right? I just copy and paste, and I'm in HTML document. So you can see it like that, and maybe you go to the console. You can see the width over here. A console so you can change the. I cannot access to that CX. And this is the radius, right? So that means XML, I cannot change through the HTML. So if I define it as 80 and hit the run button, right? And since this is XML, I mean like XML not HTML, I cannot change the width or any other attributes from the looking at the console. Remember that. And since it is XML, you can only change through the code, and after that you have to see it, right? So that's the way. Right. This rectangle defines a rectangle. SY are the starting coordinates, width and height are self-externally. And as with this style, width and the height, you have the starting point width, height, and the style filling color stroke. So this is how you define basically. With this, remember, may rectangle here with XML elements, you can define a rectangle using rectangle in SVG, right? And this is how you define a line. X and Y define the starting coordinates, right? Like this kind of XY coordinates. This is starting from 0, like 1, 2, 3, and then when you define the coordinates, you can draw this kind of line. So this is the same thing. Starting with the line 11, you can define the XY coordinates and x2, y2 because you have two starting and the endpoint for the line and the necessary coloring attributes, right? That is how you define a line in SVG. Right. Any questions? Basically, what you need to remember is there's something known as SVG and it is anytime scalable. It is possible because we are representing them in a vector format, some mathematical formula, unlike the other images like JPEG or PNG images. They can be scalable at any time, and SVG images basically can be integrated into the HTML, right? That's the thing that we have to learn. Any questions? Any questions? So HTML canvas, right? So I'm just giving only a brief introduction about the HTML canvas. HTML canvas element is used to draw the graphics on the fly. We are scripting, usually Java is scripting, and it is interactive, right? Canvas can respond to JavaScript events. Canvas can respond to any user interaction like click, mouse click, button clicks, finger movement, etc. If you have a touch screen or something. Especially used in games, right? Canvas methods for animations offer a lot of possibilities for HTML gaming applications, right? So right. Some of the computer games, some of the games that you can play with Facebook Messenger. If you are using a smart mobile device, you have the Messenger store, right? I think during the COVID-19 time, it was become so much popular because people, they have plenty of time to play things, do things, right? They were trying to, people were trying to, say games using especially the Messenger, some kind of basketballs and some kind of monster kind of games are there. So these kind of games are actually developed using HTML canvas, right? Some of the games, not the most games, right? So that means these games are developed for the Facebook App Store, and that is really available. So these are the XML, example for this games developed using HTML canvas, right? So the canvas element must have an ID attribute, so it can be referred to by JavaScript. The width and the height attribute is necessary to define the size of the canvas. Right. So actually, here I'm telling some JavaScript. I just want to highlight some JavaScript content. So I have told you something about document object model, right? So HTML, when it's come to HTML DOM, so you have a one HTML document, and with the help of this document object model, it provides the interface for you to interact with this particular HTML, whatever the document, right? Basically, you have elements, right? Header element, some kind of table, maybe like div text, like that. A lot of elements are there, right? So what happens? If you name whatever the elements like HTML, div text, HTML, table namat dena, you can ID ekak dena. So what happens is if you give a ID, so using JavaScript, so remember how the examples of JavaScript with this document object model, we can refer to these elements during the program execution time. We can email document when you are in the document, when you cursor button click, you can define some whatever the events, JavaScript functions with the help of document object model. Click to the document object model, so I can define what need to happen, right? So same goes to the canvas. That's why I have this example. But remember, when you have to refer to that particular document object model, you need to have a specific ID. ID, right? So you have something as canvas. Canvas එක ID එකක් තියෙනවා. Like a unique identifier for identify the student ID to have a student ID, right? You have the width and the height and the border style. So it says your browser does not support HTML5 canvas. So you have this canvas over here. And JavaScript එකක් මේව කරනකොට so it's a JavaScript scripting language, right? So scripting language we have like normally when you are defining some JavaScript you have to define whatever your JavaScript logic within this script tag. So that's why you have the script tag and this is the closure tag, right? You are defining the JavaScript variable then make sample එකක් මතක තියාගන්න එපා, but you are getting document.getElement by ID. So that is a function that I can invoke to get the particular element content. Particular element content. Document.getElement by ID. ID again my canvas can. Right? So that means I'm getting the context of the canvas and I'm doing some functionality. Right? I'm just drawing something. You guys can even try that on your. The example is already provided. Even you guys can copy and paste and see in your browser what will happen. And create the gradient, the context with the gradients. What happened is during the program load time, the program load canvas with the gradient color. So you get the context. 2D rectangle. So that is the functionality over here, right? So you have the canvas, give the program load time, get the particular canvas and draw something. So that is what going to happen when you execute this code, right? Already the example is already provided. That's the thing that you want to know. If you have a HTML canvas and if you want to create the computer games from the HTML canvas, you just have to whole lot of JavaScript, and that is how we're going to do with the help of this document object model. And with the, I will actually, I will explain in detail about all these things during the JavaScript lecture, right? So, any questions up to this point? Any questions? Right. Multimedia, right? So we are going to learn about graphics, animations, like MP3 things related to HTML. Multimedia comes in many different formats. It can almost be anything you can hear or see, right? Videos, music, and etc. Examples: images, music, sound, videos, some recordings, films, animation, and etc. Web pages. Web pages often contain multimedia elements of different types and formats, right? So multimedia elements like audio and video, they normally stored in media files. The common way to discover the type of a file is look at the file extension, right? So multimedia files, they have different file formats and extension. So example, like probably you guys will learn in detail about all these things. You have a creative design or something like at the maybe like second year. Yeah, probably at the second year you have a lecture like that. So you'll be like learning more about that here in that lecture. So this is just to give you an idea. Right? So we have, like when it comes to audio files, what kind of file that we can have? Like normally. And with some videos. Right? So if people, like, even girls know that. Knows that, right? So MP3, it's for the audio, and MP4, and you can call it those AVI, and there are, like a lot of file extensions are there. right? That's the thing. So video format, I mean, like you can see, even when you, I mean, like probably when you try to download movies from, I mean, like torrents and then YTS torrents, I mean, likewise that. So when you try to, I mean, like try to see the video, the one when you try to play, so there are several pages. I mean, like VLC player, that Go player, then I mean, like the inbuilt player of the Microsoft operating system. I don't remember its name. But sometimes when you try to play all these things, so probably the inbuilt player, they play in our pattern. Microsoft operating system. So, but honestly, I don't remember the name. So, when you try to play all play this game, Windows Media Player, try to play using the Windows Media Player. Probably this kind of, I mean, like high-rated movies or torrent movies, they won't play, right? Probably you need to have a, I mean, like a VLC or a GOM player or likewise that. You need to have separate players, right? Because the video format is not supported by this kind of video players, right? So there are, I mean, like a lot of video formats are there: AVI, WMV, QuickTime, Real Video, Flash, and OGG and MP4. We refer to this as MPEG4 and MPEG, right? So different mobile devices. I mean, like earlier mobile. Yeah, when I mean, like earlier version of mobile devices, especially the mobile devices, you now have the mobile devices called smart mobile devices, right? It is smart. And earlier in 2000 2010, we have the feature phones, right? They are not smart, they are called feature phones. And before 2000, we have the dumb phones. They can Nokia, Gado and after that, we have the feature phones, and after that, we have these smartphones. So, these feature phones like Samsung Champ, they were supported by this, I mean, like they have a, I mean, like an MP3 file format called 3GP. They file support correct, right? So, likewise, depending on the device, maybe the player or the browser, web browser also, you need to remember there's a supporting capability of each of these, right? So you don't need to remember this thing video format, but how video is working, right? So this is how you're going to need to add the video, right? If you are working on a local computer, local machine, so if you want to add the video, maybe like you have the, I mean, like you have to get the file path, then video can the file path with the extension. So the control attribute as the video controls like play, pause, and the volume. Right. So this is how we need to add what video can include for your HTML, right? Inside your computer, you have to start with the video tag, right? You can define the width and height. And here you have the source element, right? Main source again SRC, you have defined the file path. If you are now with a local computer and if you have some kind of movie or something, and you need to define that, and clearly you have to define the type. Type you can type on the browser, the Google or I mean like internet, and that's how you can define the I mean like need to I mean like if you want to highlight the I mean like include the video, that's how you will do, right? And remember, if you add this something like that, like controls to the end of this video tag, starting tag, so that becomes the control attribute as a video controls like play, pause, and volume. Like a play, normally when you are playing a video, like play, pause, resting, likewise, you have some controls, right? So this will add some inbuilt controls to this video, right? Right. The source element allows you to specify alternating video files which the browser may choose from. The browser will use the first recognized format, and that's basically how you need to define the video. And if you have some video in a local path in your computer, right? All right. So even when I'm talking about this HTML canvas, I have highlighted something. Canvas ID inside this canvas element. I'm saying your browser does not support the HTML5 canvas. Right. There's something. Your browser does not support HTML5 canvas, right? So this takes place. Even if you try to, try to mimic this example in your web browser, you can see no, nothing is displayed. Right? That means your browser is already supporting to this HTML canvas. Probably, back in 2000, before 2020, when you had display some videos or some flash movies. So, at the browser again, it will give you a message as your browser does not support to this kind of flash or something like that. So that means you can this message is only displayed when the content is not supported by the web browser. But when it's come to the most of the browsers, I don't know the case of Internet Explorer, but you cannot try color there. So you guys can even try and see if the browser is supporting. You are not getting this message, right? Yeah, the text between the video tags will only be displayed in browsers that do not support the video 11, right? HTML video tag, the most common one everyone knows, MP4, and article. Just try to simply remember, right? HTML video text, right? So I have already given the example. So this is more descriptive, starting with the bit tag, and the controls, and the source. The source forest jump video, and then you have defined the title. MP4 here, and you have to define the type. Type it and just browse on the Google and include the type correctly, right? Otherwise, the video won't place. And you have to have another 11 track. Define the text tracks in media players. Like if you have some what is it called? Subtitles, captions, right? Normally, yeah. So you can define maybe like if you are watching K-dramas or some movies, there are some not downloads. There are some sites that you can download this movie. These dramas or things, right? So if you download that, probably it's in Korean or not even in English, right? So probably what you can do is from some site you can download this whatever the subtitle files, and you can include that particular file. Particular files format you can include that file format in the exact folder or directory where we have the video. So video can English subtitle later, you can see the English subtitle, right? So that's the thing. So when it's come to track, and even when the video is played, if you want to showcase the subtitles, even even though not the inbuilt subtitle are not there in the video, with this track element, you can include this the file part of the video. File to the subtitle, whatever the file, right? So yeah, the VDT means that file format. I have honestly don't know the exact file format for that thing. So here in the kind attribute, you are defining the values as subtitles, caption, chapters, metadata, description, and source language, English, and the label like English, right? So remember, the track element, it defines the you can include some textual content in the media player when the video is played. That's why we need this track element, right? So yeah. Right. Any questions after this point? Any questions? HTML5 defines document object methods, properties, and events for the video elements. This allows you to load, play, and post videos as well as setting duration and volume. There are also documents that can notify you when the video begins to play, is paused, and etc. And So that means same as canvas, using the document object model, you can not the manipulate. You can basically interfere with the functionality of when the video is actually played, right? Using the Java script, right? So I think in here example, right? You can see here, I have a video, right? But now my W3 school site again where you can learn all these resources. So this video probably in the server again, we file again in the past again, that's right. Source SRC and the type MP4 and this OGG means another video file format. So this is the video where you have defined, right? So you don't have no controls. Controls here they have defined and you are inside the view tag, text learner center. And here you have some four buttons, right? HTML button to get, and you have some on-click events, right? That means, एक नंबर का जाएगा नोट है, but एक button का click करना you will be referring to this on-click event, and you will be going here inside this script tag. Wow, my video document dot given by ID. You are referring to this video tag and function play for video play. Likewise, you can see what is actually happening, but you will understand more if you have some kind of JavaScript knowledge. So it's still okay. So if you hit the run button and if you play, so you can see it is play. That means like when the program loads, you use the document object model using the JavaScript, you are referring to this particular video, right? So when you click on the play button like click on click, play pause. So you are coming into this if play pause. If my video is paused, video ka play වෙන්න, right? So remember, my video කියලා කියන්නේ I'm referring to this particular video tag. I'm referring this with the ID. Video 1 කියලා එකටම අතන get element by ID කියන එක video 1 කියලා තියෙනවා. Right. Hello. Good morning. උගලට ලෙක්චර් තියෙනවා මම බැලුවේ එහෙම ඒ තේරුම දැන් උගලට ඉස්සෝ මේ මොකද පයින්ට් කරලා මගේ කාර්යය දැන් ඒ අවශ්‍ය උගලට කිසිම මොනෙකට කරන්න දෙන්නේ ඒකයි ඉන්ෆෝම් කරලා විතරක් මට එනවා අද මේ රැට හරි මට මැසේජ් එකක් දාන්න එතකොට එහෙම වුණොත් නැත්තම් මම නෝමල් විදිහට කරගෙන යනවා සිකුරාදා මේ සිකුරාදා කොහොමත් නේ අරුව කරන්නේ මේ සිකුරාදා කරන්නේ මේ හෙට ලෙක්චර් එක. ඔව් හෙට ලෙක්චර් එකේ මගේ හවස 3:05 දින ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ඒක. මට අසටම නම් එන්න අමාරුයි මේ 9:10 කරලා ඊට පස්සේ අර 3:05 තියෙන්නේ 3:05 කියන එක මේ කැන්සල් කරන්න ඒක ඇල්ල. පොඩ්ඩක් මේ කරත් දෙන්න නැත්නම් අර ඒ විදිහටම ওই විදිහටම කරමු වෙනවා. ටයිම් එක කරමු. ඔව් ඔව්. ඕ නමයට තියෙනවා ඊට පස්සේ චින පහෙන් මම බැඩිමෝස් කරා මානව එක විතර කරලා බලමුකෝ ඒක මේ මම හිතන්නේ ඒක කැන්සල් කරන්න ඇත්තට දිගටම කරලා දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ අර මේ යන්න තියෙනවනේ කොහේ හරි ගමේ එහෙම ඒකයි බලලා කියන්නකෝ මට එහෙනම් මේ බැටරි වලත් අර කැන්සල් කරොත් ඔනේ බයල් කම්පියුටින් එක හරි ඕකේ හරි ඕකේ හරි okay. Right. So basically, that's how it works. Same as HTML canvas. You can basically manipulate this whatever the video elements using the HTML DOM using the help of JavaScript. That's the idea. Right. Integrating YouTube videos. Right. The easiest way to play videos HTML is to use YouTube. YouTube YouTube will display an ID. YouTube video when you upload a video, it does have a unique identifier, right? Display an ID. When you save a video, you can use this ID and refer to the video in HTML code. That's the basically, if you want to integrate YouTube video in your HTML page, that's the things that you need to do. So steps to play YouTube video in HTML, right? Upload the video to the YouTube, take a note of the video ID, how many video ID for the share part video when you try to share that button, the unique ID will come with the particular URL. Define an iframe element in your web page and let the source attribute point to the source attribute point to the video URL and use the width and height attribute to specify the dimension of the player and add any other parameters to the URL. So you can even define the controls. So the example what we provided here, it in the iframe. So just copy and paste and see. So this is that unique ID. You can see. Right. So I think in the example that I have highlighted in my slides, because the quotation might send something, so you have to replace it with the actual quotation when you go to the development environment. The quotation mark replace and then only the video will work, like in this example, right? So this is the simple code. Make it a URL with the unique ID. And when you try to execute that, so we can see it's like this. And if you put the controls over here, a control set karan, I'm in the iframe. So make a video tag again. question mark controls 1. So I can say right. So yeah, there are some parameters that you can append to the end of the URL, like the autoplay option, right? Autoplay, you can define the value over here. Question mark, you can see autoplay equal 1 or 0. That means the value you are passing. If the value is 0, the video will not play automatically when the player loads. The video will play automatically when the player loads. If it is 1, and there's a loop. I mean, like if the value is 0, the video will play only 1. The video will loop forever. Normally, we are not using that. And the player controls does not display. The player controls display. So that means at the end of the YouTube URL, you can add these parameters, right? So I'm gonna just so I'm gonna make this one and hit the run button. So you can see this particular control, I mean, like inbuilt controls, they are appearing. And if you become, make it, let's say 0. So it's not, the controls are not appearing on the program loads, right? So that's basically how you need to integrate a YouTube video into your application, right? Right. Same goes with the audio files. To play an audio file in HTML, use the audio element, right? Audio controls, you have the source here. It should redirect, it should be directed to the particular file, and within the source, and you have a type. And you have to correctly type the audio type also, right? Audio, MPEG. You always have, if you don't know about anything, just refer to the internet and correctly type correctly copy and paste the type so the audio can, it's playable, right? You can play karana puluwan. And some of the how HTML audio they basically will work. The control attributes at the audio control, the same as the way you add into the video. The source element allows you to specify alternative audio files which the browser may choose from. The browser will use the first recognized format. The text between the audio and the audio text will only be displayed in browsers that do not support the audio element, right? Likewise, in the canvas, in the video, text you can like that your browser does not support. If the browser does not support, it will actually display. Otherwise, the whatever the textual content, it won't display, right? Same goes to the audio, right? So these are the audio file formats that you, I mean, like you need to, I mean, like just remember, like MP3, and also even though this MP4, it's a video, even though it's a video format, you can also be used as some kind of audio without, without having any video, right? So OGG, Wave, AAC, WMA. So these are the kind of like audio files that you can use when it's come to HTML programming, right? So HTML audio text, audio define the sound content, define the media content with the whatever the link with the source. Right. Any questions up to here? Right. HTML plugins. Right. So the plugins basically they are to they are extensive functionality of our web application to whatever the application that we are creating. Right. That thing. The helper applications equal to plugins or our computer program that extend the standard functionality of the web browser. Examples of a well-known plugin is Java Applets. Plugins can be added to web pages with the object type or embed tag. Plugins can be used for many purposes: display map, scan for viruses, verify your bank ID. Maybe like let's say if you are making a payment, some kind of I'm not making to do that. So if you want to integrate some payment gateway like Stripe or like say that, then more standard version. So what you can do is, with the help of this HTML plugins, you can do that. And if you like, normally in Android application, you have some like Uber, then whatever people, they have already integrated this Google Maps, right? Basically, they are getting the data from the Google Maps API. Right, Google Maps, they have API, they are reading data from there, right? So for the HTML, even if you have to, like integrate this kind of plugin, you are extending the functionality of your application with the help of this particular tool or a software, right? So that is called a plugin. If you want to integrate that, so you can do that. You can do that with the help of this object tag for the embed tag. Plugins can be added to the pages with object or this embed tag, right? And apart from that, display in the maps. Some you can integrate some wireless scanning tools, then you have the kind of payment gateways, especially. So with the help of these plugins, right? And there are two ways: using the object element or using the embed element. So if we are to use this object element, it is supported by all the browsers. Define the embed object within the HTML document. It is used to embed plugins in a web page like Java, like a Java application. It's kind of like some kind of Java application like so it's like a some kind of Java program that you can basically integrate inside your website. Like to showcase some animation, video එකක් පෙන්වන්න ඕන නම්, and apart from that, some kind of functionality, right? Remember that, like. So I think this technology is now obsolete. We have more advanced version to do that, like Java FX, right? So yeah, applet is a kind of like an obsolete technology. And yeah, so plugins you can add it using this object tag. So it's in the black color, so unfortunately you cannot see it. Yeah, so but here you can see here object element define the embedded object within the HTML document. It is used to embed plugins like Java Applets, PDF readers, Flash player. You can define some Flash videos, etc. Object you can define the link head, and the data you can define the maybe like if it is some kind of a Flash file. So you can refer to the file path and you can close that, right? So this is basically how. And earlier, like in 2000, like 2010, I think instead of like MP3, like MP3 files, like MP4 files, we have used some. It's called some Flash animated videos, especially on the website. Right now we have more multimedia content, but earlier time we have even like using the Flash, we were able to create computer games also, right? So that was the case of earlier time. Here you have to define everything this data attribute, define the file path, and that's the case of this embed tag also. Element is supported in all major browsers, but some browsers they don't support this embed whatever the element. Element also defines the embed object within the HTML document, same as the object element, but the most commonly used and the most supported version is that object element, right? Web browsers have supported the embed element for a long time. However, it has not been a part of HTML specification before HTML5. So same as the previous object tag, embed with head, you need to define the whatever your file paths, right? And after that, you have to close the tag, right? So with that, I will conclude the HTML multimedia. And next week will be purely, I mean, I'm going to learn about the HTML, CSS. Sorry, CSS, right? So any questions up to here? Any questions? Any questions up to this point? So if you don't have any questions, so I will conclude the today's session and yes. Right. Have a stay and right, you may Oh, itu kan yang lebih gitu. Oh, lebih. Ya. Eh, bukan kan sebenarnya gua ini yang kemarin itu ada kan sebenarnya ada. Itu ada ini juga. Oh, oh.